From the underworld, coming for the underground. Motherfuckers better watch out.
The longest reigning champion in the Royal Division with an 82% knockout ratio. Dominated big heavyweights from the 90s all the way to 2017 in spectacular fashion. And had been the closest to ever become undisputed champion after the reign of Lennox Lewis.
Wladimir Klitschko, he's not ready for me yet, and I would knock him out.
Today, we take a deep dive into the life of a one-punch knockout artist that never got the credit he deserved. Born in 1976, the little Ukrainian grew up in Czechoslovakia, where his father was stationed with the Soviet occupation forces. Klitschko and his elder brother Vitaly both showed interest in athletics from a young age. Wladimir had followed his brother into amateur boxing, and when Vitaly lost his chance to compete for Ukraine in the Olympics because of steroid use, he took his place on the team and earned the super heavyweight gold medal.
Wladimir Klitschko.
As an amateur, Klitschko won 134 of his 140 fights and was finally ready to make his entrance to the professional ranks.
Wladimir Klitschko!
Wladimir was featured on fight cards alongside his elder brother Vitaly and was often delivering jaw-dropping endings,
Это пока немного, у него есть потенциал, был.
with most of his knockouts coming in the first round.
Präsentiert die
Да, Сальвадор, не позови.
He was quickly becoming a name to be considered a great in the heavyweight division and had amassed a stunning record of 18 wins and 0 losses, with 14 of them coming by way of knockout. His next opponent seemed to be the obstacle standing in his way for the WBC international title. Wladimir kept smashing his long jab to his opponent's face to establish distance and respect between them. Little effort was shown by the other side, who couldn't find any openings to punch. And in the end, Wladimir looked like he caught a body in the ring. He would go on to build an undefeated record of 24-0. However, he would suffer his first loss to Ross Purity in what was Klitschko's first and last professional fight in Ukraine.
Den hatte zweimal am Boden, dann reichte es gerade so zu einem Unentschieden. Also, der linke
Purity forced Klitschko, who had at that time not gone beyond 8 rounds, to punch himself out.
Die linke im Ziel.
He began to be overwhelmed in the 10th round and went down twice but was allowed to continue.
Läuft immer genau in die Rechte und jetzt kommt er hinterher. Ross Purity. Chance in diesen Treffern. So, er kommt durch. Und Wladimir Klitschko. Er ist fertig, er ist mitgenommen. Er wird wackelig. Wladimir Klitschko.
And with his corner having seen enough, they did the right thing and stopped the fight.
Purity. Was passiert da? Fritz Dunek geht in den Ring, sagt Feierabend. Fritz Dunek geht dazwischen, sagt.
In the crowd was sitting a tall, big heavyweight named Vitaly Klitschko, who saw his brother get handed his first ever loss and vowed to avenge him by stopping Ross Purity in the 11th round himself.
Jetzt haben wir Blut im Ring gesehen und es scheint so zu sein, als sind beide da motiviert sind. Jetzt tut das. Wladimir Klitschko.
die anderen beiden über die Zeit.
Wladimir quickly bounced back from his defeats by beating unnamed contenders to put himself up in the ranks again, and even managed to rack a win against Axel Schultz, who had managed to give Big George Foreman problems in the past. Wladimir Klitschko got his chance to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship in 2000 against the WBO champion Chris Bird, who was considered one of the most avoided fighters in the heavyweight division at the time.
And Bird senses the opportunity and steps in and fires away.
The American had become the organization's new champion when Vitaly had to pull out of his fight with Bird after round 9 due to a shoulder injury.
Just told us. I can't believe what I just seen. Vitaly Klitschko.
However, Rapid Fire's reign proved to be short. Wladimir made sure the belt was quickly back in the hands of a Klitschko family member.
32 knockouts in 34 fights. Not making enough use of his own jab, Bird. And watch the hook and then a left jab.
Klitschko typically sought to stick out his long jab in order to set up the big right hand that managed to catch Bird a couple of times.
The worry with some of the writers out here was that Klitschko, any problems? Yeah, well, he's just going to do what he always does. I mean, he's any good against Chris Bird.
Bird's eye had been swollen by the 9th, and Wladimir saw that as an opportunity to give it his all.
He slowed down now. Just looked at the referee. Right hand there over the top, and down goes Bird for the first time in the fight.
And troubled him again in the 11th.
Right hand from Klitschko, and Bird wobbles, and he's down with another right.
All of Klitschko's efforts were enough, and he managed to settle for a unanimous decision victory, and had successfully avenged his brother like he had done a couple years before. At that particular time, the heavyweight division had been a mess. Lennox Lewis was the king of the division, and Vitaly was the man who looked ready to be the next emperor. However, the Klitschko's refusal to fight each other made it difficult to ascertain which brother was the best heavyweight of the era, creating what the media frequently referred to as a two-headed heavyweight champion. Overall, the brothers presented a far more sophisticated public image than many other boxing champions. Each held a PhD in sports science, hence their nicknames Dr. Steelhammer and Dr. Iron Fist.
Now Klitschko 35-1.
Making his first defense of the title, the Ukrainian faced Derek Jefferson, who was seen as a big and athletic brawler and fan-friendly attraction, mostly being known for his 6th-round knockout of Maurice Harris, which was named the Ring Magazine's Knockout of the Year. However, the race proved to be short, and Klitschko managed to beat him inside 2 rounds, with the first knockout coming in the first. And by the second round, Jefferson's grave had been dug. Many names were coming to the negotiations table, with the most notable one being merciless Ray Mercer, who had proved in the past why he was the real deal. It was obvious that Mercer wasn't here to play any games with Klitschko. However, Wladimir proved him otherwise, as he had him figured out from the start.
Been knocked down once. Right hand. This time Klitschko ducks his head and fires the left hand back 3 times. Mercer for the left hook, and that is the first.
Throughout the fight, Klitschko saw no problems landing combinations of stiff left jabs and clean hooks.
Again, the left hook. Oh, the left hook is dynamite. That's what I think was very impressive in the beginning. Oh, there's a colossal right cross, and Mercer.
And by the 5th, Mercer's face was swollen and his right eye was cut.
Dominating Chris Bird. So the question. Very good fight. And Mercer, too. Big left hook by Klitschko. I don't think Mercer can believe what's happening to him in there. I think the head taking is all about.
With the referee eventually showing mercy toward Ray Mercer and stopping this bout.
This could be the end here. There's only one heavyweight in the world who might have a chance to stand in against Wladimir Klitschko. And his name is Lennox Lewis, Manny.
After beating Bird to become the new WBO champion, Klitschko had reeled off 5 successful defenses of the title in just over 2 years. However, Wladimir's 6th defense saw him come out on the wrong end of a shock result. Journeyman Corey Sanders was not expected to pose too many problems for the champion, as the South African southpaw had fought just 3 rounds since being knocked out by Hasim Rahman in May 2000. Yet Sanders had one key ingredient for success in Germany: power.
Difficult for Wladimir to get the jab in. Hard left for Klitschko, right hand to the body. Left hand by Sanders.
Punch by a good puncher. He gets hit again. Lowering his height some more.
Klitschko goes down on a huge left eye, right on the eyebrow. Long time to go in the round. He's down twice in the opening round.
Klitschko made it through the first, but he was soon down again in the next.
In this situation, he was able to come back and knock Sanders out. Now Klitschko's down a 3rd time.
When he fell to the canvas for a fourth time, the referee called a halt to proceedings.
And this is not going to go well. Another knockdown, the fourth time, and the referee, Canelo Rodriguez, stops the fight.
The loss to Sanders could be brushed off as a blip, but when Klitschko was also stopped by Layman Brewster just over a year later, questions were raised about the Ukrainian's durability. Dr. Steelhammer cautiously returned after the Brewster fight with victories over Deverell Williamson and Eliseo Castillo.
Von Wladimir Klitschko hinterher und wieder die rechte und getroffen.
But there were still major doubts over his chin. When he was booked to face Samuel Peter in an eliminator for the IBF and WBO titles, it was seen as a serious risk that could derail his career. The Nigerian Nightmare was 24-0 going into the bout and had a reputation as a heavy hitter, making him exactly the kind of fighter Klitschko was being told to avoid. There were moments at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City when it seemed Klitschko would come a cropper again.
Here's a right hand by Klitschko.
So he has to reach down, drop his hand.
Block the left. Good left hook inside by Klitschko.
Both men were landing massive headshots.
Short, powerful arms.
There's a big left hook by Peter.
Every now and then, just do it.
There's a hard right hand by Klitschko.
Klitschko was knocked down 3 times, yet on each occasion returned to his feet.
Goes down.
This is a moment of truth for Klitschko. Not win the fight.
Left hook lands for Klitschko. Who has the guts? Who has the courage? Who has the self-possession to get through these last 2 rounds?
Stamina.
Oh, the left hook wobbles Peter.
With the fight going in favor of the Ukrainian.
Wladimir.
His second shot at a title would prove to be against the same man he had to defeat to earn his first one, Chris Bird. While the build-up for the fight was built as revenge or repeat, Klitschko put up a one-sided fight as he was using his jab and superior reach throughout the bout. Knocking Bird down twice. Bird beat the count after the second knockdown, but his face was battered and bloody.
Wladimir, we're boxing for the heavyweight championship of the world.
In his first title defense, Klitschko agreed to face then undefeated heavyweight contender Calvin Brock, who was considered one of the most promising and demanded American heavyweight prospects at the time. And in an ESPN interview in July 2005, Mike Tyson named him and Samuel Peter as his favorite fighters from the new crop of heavyweights. With all things set, the 2 men came in for a once-in-a-lifetime fight, with Brock's economical but effective movement making Klitschko reluctant to throw punches. In between the 3rd and 4th rounds, Klitschko's trainer Emanuel Stewart urged him to press the action, and so he did. In the 5th round, Brock had opened a cut under Klitschko's left eye, and by the 6th, it had started bleeding heavily. In the 7th round, Wladimir caught Brock with a missile counter right hand before sending him to the canvas with another straight right, this time for good. Following the match with Brock, Wladimir would go on to beat every single one of the opposition he faced, with all the speculations about him now being washed getting shut. Back in July of 2011, Hay had his opportunity to dethrone Klitschko in Germany. A former cruiserweight world champion, the Haymaker had picked up the WBA belt after moving up, resulting in a mouth-watering unification bout.
It's going to be a great fight. Always going to be a great fight. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can cut it with a knife.
Klitschko and Hay were originally scheduled to fight in 2009, yet did not end up actually going toe-to-toe until 2 years later. Hay's reputation as a heavy hitter meant he was never actually out of the running.
Whose strategy may be? Here comes Hay trying to Klitschko, who extends that. And the big shot that he promised. He knew that just the first cycle off. He's having to leap in with the punches.
The Ukrainian was staying out of range and dominating with his jab, controlling proceedings throughout.
Genuinely believes he can win it, and Hay would say problem. That's the right hand from Hay. David has it. Oh, good right hand. Good shot from Klitschko. Wladimir going to take a full body shot to heavyweight.
The only setback for him was a point being deducted in round 7.
Come over here in the thousands, a bit subdued. Hay gambling again, and once more, it's only a point. It's only a point taken away.
And he even knocked Hay down in the 11th, yet it had seemed more of a push.
No signs of stamina.
Klitschko had settled for a quite easy unanimous decision victory. At this point in time, Vlad was the unified champion, holding the WBA, WBO, and IBF titles, while his brother Vitaly was holding the WBC title. The talks for an undisputed showdown between the brothers would just be a waste of time, as they had no interest fighting each other. However, Wladimir would prove to be brave, and was defending his 3 belts against everyone anytime, with his most notable defense in this period being against the Russian, Alexander Povetkin.
In der ersten Runde gut. Gut die Führung. Ja, da ist sie. Sekunden wieder die linke. Stärker Treffer.
The bout was marred with over 160 clinches, most initiated by Klitschko, followed by several repeated roughhouse tactics throughout the match.
Ganz tief Povetkin und dann taucht auf. Das ist auch so eine... Ups. Guter linker Haken. Links, rechts. Guter Treffer. Das ruhiger. Und die rechte nochmal. Da war er.
The fight, though, proved to be an easy win for Vlad, who again managed to grab the victory on points. By 2013, Klitschko was already reigning as a champion for 7 consecutive years, with none of his opponents proving to be worthy of dethroning him. However, the tables would seem to turn in 2015, when a big, stocky Briton would challenge Klitschko for his titles.
You have about as much charisma as my underpants. 0. None.
Tyson Fury even came to the press conference dressed as Batman in an effort to discourage Vlad. And when the pair came face to face, the world immediately recognized that this would be an all-time classic.
Name me one of your opponents that I couldn't beat. Who'd land a glove on me? None of them.
From the off, Fury kept constantly on the move, boxing off the back foot and throwing many feints, beating Klitschko to the punch from range, whilst not letting Klitschko set his feet to land his own shots.
And he's supposed to be losing these rounds.
Cause a Vladimir problem. Now Klitschko decides to go in and gamble a less painful as it will if Klitschko lands one.
An uppercut, a body shot.
Some of the rounds were close, but were decisive in Fury's favor due to his ring generalship and being more active than Klitschko, who appeared flustered.
Now there's.
Of course, like that.
Wladimir Klitschko, a cut on the cheek.
Causing Vladimir a lot of problems and the feint before he throws.
And during the last half of the bout, Fury was just bullying the man.
Just counted by Copy.
Oh, good shot.
Big left hook by Fury. For a guy who is the heavyweight champion. A little more willingness to do what...
In the post-fight press conference, Klitschko was asked whether his right hand was injured as he hadn't thrown it very often, in which he replied that he was just gun-shy. A rematch was set to take place not so long after the first meeting. However, Tyson's declining mental health meant that he would pull out of a second fight with Klitschko. Days after the Fury rematch was called off, Klitschko was approached by Eddie Hearn to promote a mega fight with Anthony Joshua in London. In front of a post-war record crowd of 90,000 in attendance, Joshua won by TKO in a high-drama contest that saw both men giving their all. It was visible at this point that the time had come for Klitschko to hang him up for good. In the end, he is still the longest reigning champion in boxing, having held his belts for a stunning total of 12 years. It is often forgotten that Klitschko fought in 29 world heavyweight title fights, more than any other boxer in history, with the names behind him being Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali. A true legend of the sport that doesn't get the credit he deserves.